Hello and welcome back to another video of DDRP. I'm Dakota.
And I'm Bryson.
And we're restoring a 1966 Dodge Dart 270 convertible. The question we get asked the most is, are you going to keep it original? And the answer to that is yes, as much as possible.
You see, the Chrysler A platform was the basis for smaller rear-wheel drive cars in the 1960s and 70s. They're also known as A-body cars. This includes cars like the Plymouth Valiant, the Barracuda, the Duster, the Valiant Charger, the Demon, and of course the Dodge Dart.
Because they have the same platform, many of the parts are interchangeable. We'll be using brakes and suspension from the 1970s. In the last video, we took apart the front brake and discs. That took us about 3 Saturdays. In today's video, we're gonna finish taking apart the front suspension, which took us most Saturdays for about 4 months. Check it out.
All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is remove this shock. So what I did is 5/8 socket breaker bar, because this is a tough nut. And then on the other side, there's a nut where I'm gonna use the sliding crescent wrench. So all I did was hold the one side while this goes down, remove the nut. We've got that bolt, and pull this shock free. Then up on the top side here, so this right here is the top part of the shock. So we'll undo these bolts and then remove the shock cap, and then remove the shock itself. All right, so in order to get the top part of the shock off, there's actually 2 parts. There's a bolt on the bottom, and then there's a retainer bolt on top. So what I had to do was take a 9/16 wrench and kind of hold this one in place. And then I take my crescent wrench and I loosen it. And then once I get it loosened, I'm just able to do the rest by hand on the retainer nut. And then I'll go back and remove the other bolt after that. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna remove is the torsion bar adjuster. So this is the lower control arm, and underneath the control arm, there's this big bolt. We've got to back out all the way. And this bar attaches to the lower control arm all the way to the back of the frame. And so I've got to remove the torsion bar from the lower control arm, and then remove the rest of the components from the spindle. So modern suspension, you're gonna see on my truck, I've got an upper control arm, and then there's a spring and a shock that goes all in one. On these older cars, this bar right here that goes all the way back, it connects to the lower control arm right here, and then there's a pivot shaft that goes underneath. And basically that torsion bar, there's an adjuster underneath, and you tighten that adjuster, and it basically, it kind of twists the bar and creates a spring action. I wanted to show you this as well underneath the car. This right here is the back side of the torsion bar, and there's a little clip right here that holds it in. That's basically the only thing that's holding this torsion bar in, keeping it from coming out the other end. But some of these mechanics will tell you that you need a special tool that basically clamps onto this bar and pulls it out in order to remove it. All I did was, when I removed the bolt from the other side, and I'll kind of come down here so you can see it a little bit. There's a bolt right here that I removed. Once that was removed, I just took a rubber mallet after I removed the clip from behind, and then I just pounded on this lower control arm until the whole thing came out. So no special tools, just some elbow grease, and that torsion bar came out. And then stick the needle nose through the loop, through the eye on that one. Yep. And then finagle it out. There you go. Keep going. All right, so we're using a 3/4 inch impact driver to remove the castle nut from the tie rod to the spindle. Go ahead. Just take it off with your hands now. So we didn't have a socket big enough at the back of this one, so Dakota's having to use a crescent wrench. I'm doing it by hand. That's right. Work it, Dakota. There you go. Continuing to work on the front suspension. And so one of the things that I'm doing is removing the upper control arm from the dart. And before I do that though, I've got to remove the upper ball joint. So this is a picture of what it looks like with the upper control arm and the ball joint. And I have to use this ball joint remover. It's easier though to remove that ball joint when it's actually up in the car. So that's what I did up here. Remove that ball joint. And so today I'm going to be removing the bolts on either side and removing the upper control arms. Okay, so bolts are removed and this is what they look like right here. These actually adjust the camber on the vehicle, or rather how far in or how far out the wheels are sitting, like if you've got flat or level tires to the road. So normally you're supposed to mark these what position that they're at when you take them out, so you can put them back in the same spot. But being how I'm going to put new control arms and whatnot, I'll just have to kind of do a manual adjustment and play it from there. But anyway, there are 2 of these bolts, one for each side there, the camber bolts right there. So now it's taking out the control arm and cleaning them up and replacing them.